On today's podcast, I had Lauren Hardy on, who is out of Huntington Beach, California, and she's virtually wholesaling in 4 different markets while being a single mother. She has grown her company tremendously in the last year, and we talk about how she's done it and what it's been like trying to navigate through the pandemic, raising kids, building a company, running a whole bunch of other things, and what her next venture is outside of this. So make sure you tune in to the end. Now, let's go. Are you looking to grow your real estate investing business? My company, Future Flipper, can help. We've taught hundreds of people all over the country how to flip, wholesale, and buy rental properties. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your investing journey. Whether you're trying to get your first deal or scale your company, Future Flipper can help. We have courses, coaching, and events for all levels of investors. So if you want to take the next step, go to futureflipper.com and book a free consultation to see how we can best help you. Once again, that's futureflipper.com. If you've ever wanted to invest with me on my real estate deals, it's now possible. At Pineda Capital, we're purchasing value-add real estate all across the country. This includes multifamily, commercial, and land development. The best part is, with my network, social media presence, and marketing strategies, we're able to get the very best deals that others don't have access to. You can join in with me on those deals if you're an accredited investor. If you want to learn more, head over to pinedacapital.com to see our current opportunities. Once again, that's pinedacapital.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today's guest is out of Huntington Beach, California. She's been in real estate for quite a while now, virtually wholesaling in other states. But on top of that, probably the most impressive part is that she's doing this while being a single mom at a very high level. And that is none other than Lauren Hardy. How's it going?
Hey, it's good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to have you come out to Vegas. Pretty easy trip.
Well, it's never hard to convince me to go to Vegas. So, yeah
I hear
happy
you.
to be here.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your journey of where you've got today, because you're doing a ton of stuff. I mean, you're virtually wholesaling in other states. You've done development. You flipped houses. You know, you're going through the life of being a parent. You've got a coaching program. Like, how did all this start?
Well, I mean, if we got some time, I'll take you back to where it all started.
Yeah, tell me.
So I started this business 9 years ago. And at that time, I was married. I'm not married anymore, but I was married and my daughter was 1 year old. And I was just working corporate life. I actually worked in corporate real estate. I got my first taste of real estate was actually in commercial real estate. And I was working for a big company. It was called the Irvine Company. It was a great job, great benefits, very stable, but I felt very much dead end, very out of control of what my income was, very out of control of getting promoted or making more money, but most important, out of control of my time. I realized after having, a 1 year old, they take up a lot of your time.
Right.
And spending all day at work and seeing your kid an hour and a half a day just wasn't very fulfilling. So I knew I had to do something, and I fell into house flipping.
Yeah. So this was 9 years ago. You just fell into it. Like, what made you do that? Like, how do you fall into house flipping?
So at this point, so I was so motivated to just get out of my 9 to 5. It was actually 8 to 5. I was so motivated to get out of that like corporate hustle. I would have done anything. I mean, you could have said like you sell peanuts out of your car. I would have done it. It just so happened that my brother was flipping houses a couple years before, and I was barbecuing with them on a typical Sunday, and I was just griping, complaining, saying, gosh, I got the Sunday scaries, and I'm thinking, I really want to find something that I can do where I can work from home so I can be, there with Reese. My brother said, well, I've been flipping houses and it's really worked out for me. And I mean, I think you could do this around your daughter, and I didn't really know what my brother did, honestly. I never paid attention to it. I never watched those shows. I was not interested in house flipping at all. But, he just said you could work from home. And he asked me how much money I had to make to come out even to quit my job. And I love like kind of going back to this because it really wasn't that much money. But to me at the time, it really was. At the time, I took my, annual salary and I took how much I was going to pay for daycare. And at this time, I had just found out I was pregnant with my second child. So I did 2 kids' daycares, right? And, I figured, okay, I'll get health insurance, with my husband's, company. So at the time, it was like $36,000 was all I had to take home or bring in to be equal to working that full-time job, which is really not that much if you think about it,
No.
So my brother goes, well, that's like flipping one house. I was like, okay, so how do I get started? And that was it. I mean, the rest kind of was, I say the rest was history, super cheesy, but that's how it started. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about the first deal. I always love hearing people's first.
So the first deal, it was a flip. This is post-recession. So for a lot of people that, are just getting into this business, they might not have that, the context of, how different the market was 9 years ago. But this was at a time where there was so much seller distress. There was so much inventory on the market. I mean, anybody that wanted to flip a house could flip a house. It wasn't that hard. Even in Orange County, California, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So my brother started doing direct mail. And at this time, direct mail was not that well known as it is today. So I was able to pull off my first deal with like maybe 4,000 mailers, not very much. And one thing I think it's important to share is it actually took me 4 months of mailing and making offers and being rejected to get that first deal under contract. And then it took 6 more months to get paid from it. So I was working for free for a while, but either way, I mean, it took 4 months. A lot of people want to give up before that, so like, I always like to say, like, it took me 4 months to get that first deal.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah.
4 months is, for me, it took me 5 years before I finally pulled the trigger. I'd been a realtor for a long time before I was like, all right, fine, I'm going for it. So 4 months is quick.
The one thing I never had was analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So I think I was so motivated to get out of my job that I did not have any analysis paralysis at all. So as soon as I talked to my brother, he gave me a coaching program. And at that time, these coaching programs would come as CDs, like in a binder.
Yeah.
So I just listened to it for a week and I just did exactly what that guy said. And I went hard for 4 months and I finally got, my first flip property. And it was crazy. I joke around that I bought this house the last day of the recession because as soon as I bought it, that thing just started going up in value.
Yeah. What year is this? Like 11?
2012.
12, yeah.
2012 is when I finally got a deal under contract. So yeah, I mean, it was a crazy, very, very lucky. I was lucky. I was at the right place at the right time. Got this deal in Laguna Niguel. And yeah, we bought it, fixed it up, flipped it. All I had to do was bring the deal. My brother had the private money lender relationship already established. He taught me how to rehab homes.
Wow.
And he listed it because he was a realtor at the time. So really worked out. Big payday at the end. And my goal was I was going to work my full-time job until I had a year's worth of my salary saved. And good thing I was really underpaid. I only had to save up $55,000. So I saved with that deal. And then we bought another deal and very much like the same one, same numbers and everything around the same time. So by the time that I did this for a whole year, working my corporate job and working, flipping houses on the side. My daughter was born and I ended up not going back after maternity leave because I had just hit that number. Yeah. So that was great.
What did the first deal net?
My first deal net us around $65,000 that we split.
That's awesome.
And then
and your brother split it.
Yeah, we split it. And then the second was same thing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so smart.
So you had a good brother. So is he still doing it today and everything?
Yeah, he still wholesales. Yeah, he's wholesaling actually local to Southern California. He hasn't gone virtual like I did. We went different paths.
What's his name?
Dustin Swad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Dustin. I'll have to talk to him one of these days. But shout out to Dustin for helping out his sister.
Absolutely.
That's cool. So, you start out as a flipper. Thankfully, you started at a great time. Like we said, you had a brother as a mentor really guiding you through those first couple. And I think a lot of people, they get hung up because they don't really have a mentor or somebody helping them, right? Like that's why I'm such a big proponent of, man, just bite the bullet and join some type of coaching program or something where you can get your questions answered. You can get, any problems you have. Somebody's already gone through it. Like I went through flipping houses myself, by myself, with no one helping me. And it was tough. It was tough to do it that way. And like I said, I became a realtor in 2010 and I didn't flip my first house until 2015 because I didn't have anybody tell me that, yo, dummy, you could wholesale. You could go get a hard money loan. It didn't occur to me that these things existed or to even seek out somebody who was doing it.
Right.
So how did you transition into kind of, I guess not transition, but evolve from there?
Well, it was definitely an evolution. I wouldn't say that I was an instant success. I was hovering around just the few deals or few flip projects a year mark for my first couple years in the business. But I wanted to grow. I did want to flip more houses, but I didn't really, I didn't have the resources. I also had a lot of fear. I was definitely very, very, very adverse to risk. So I think I can relate with a lot of people that are just scared when they're getting started. I definitely, that feeling was very real for me back then. So I was flipping, a few homes a year. I started getting mentorship, like you just mentioned. I started joining high-level mastermind programs, and those were extremely helpful. But at the same time, it was now 2012, 13, 14, 15 time. The market in California was just heating up. The recession was starting to look further and further away, and deals started getting skinnier and skinnier. For me to be able to flip a house at one point, we wanted a 15% cash on cash return, and that benchmark was starting to lower because the competition, we were all going after the same homes.
Right.
There just wasn't as much distressed inventory. And it started getting really hard to compete in my market. And I noticed that my marketing budget was going up and up to get that one flip house. Like what maybe used to take me $3,000 to get a house is now taking me $10,000 to get a house.
Right.
And what's interesting though is that was very unique to California, because when I was in these high-level masterminds where there were other people all over, the nation, they were not experiencing the same hardships that I was at the time getting deals. I mean, it was getting harder, yes, but it wasn't nearly as hard and nearly expensive to get one flip house. So it was thankfully around 2015, I had noticed, that everybody around me lived in states where the average house price was much cheaper than where I was at.
Right.
And I kind of put two and two together. They're not any smarter than me. They're not any better than me. They don't work harder. And believe me, I asked, I was like, okay, how many offers do you have to make to get one deal? How many sellers do you have to talk to get one deal? I was picking these people's brains who were killing it. They were getting they were doing so many more deals, 5 times as many deals as I was. But they were working less. So that gave me the confidence to, say, I've got to go to these markets where they're at. Right. So that's what pushed me to go virtual.
And what markets are you in now?
I'm in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Pennsylvania, and a little bit of Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So 4 markets right now. Yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed doing this over the years is that the West Coast is significantly more competitive than, those Midwest kind of even South, places. Cali, very competitive, Vegas, Phoenix, even all the way up to Seattle. They're all very competitive. And I've looked at it both ways. I'm like, well, man, should I go virtual to one of these less competitive markets? And I've never done it yet. And I'm not saying that I never will, because it's just I look at 2 things. I'm like, well, one, my exit strategy is a little more limited because I don't want to fix and flip in some random place. I don't want to build out the contractors and virtually managing flips 10 times as difficult as locally. But 2, the profit margins in Cali and stuff are way better. than these smaller states. So even though a lot of these guys were doing more deals at the same time, I'm like, well, our average deal makes 3 times as much. So it's like, is it worth doing more deals, or just at the end of the day, making more, like what,
Yeah.
How did you think about that?
Well, there's a difference, I would say, between a market where the average house price is $850,000 and a market where the average house price is maybe $450,000.
Right.
There's a huge difference. So if you are in like Southern California, where I'm from, or like Bay Area, I've heard of people in Seattle. I have students in Seattle. You should go virtual. I'm just going to say it. It's way easier in the Midwest. I mean, even the sellers are nicer. I mean, like, it's just a better day when you're done making seller calls. I would advise, based on my experience, because it was night and day. I mean, once we finally pulled the trigger and we went virtual, we were closing deals consistently. I never had to worry about deal flow. Like it was, I call it elephant hunting versus squirrel hunting. Yeah, the squirrels are a little bit smaller, but they are everywhere.
They're not hard to find.
They're not hard to find, and you make it up in volume. Now, I don't know, what is the average house price in Vegas?
It's been going up so much. I want to say it's like near 400,000 now.
Okay. So I would say for you, stay here, because you can flip and you can make 3 times as much as if you were to wholesale.
Right.
So you have that advantage that you're in your local market, and it's still not like crazy, like 850 versus 400. It's just, and the thing about California is you go to a seller and you're like, hey, I got all cash. I can close in 2 weeks,
They're like, so can everyone else.
Right. They're like, everyone can do that. Like we're competing against just buyers that have rich parents that like have cash, so there's like nothing that makes an investor stand out, where I think here there's probably still those pockets of opportunity. You just have to be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah. No, for sure. And one thing that's stood out to me about Vegas and some of these other spots is in the Midwest, you have more exit strategies with rentals. I mean, they cash flow, like people will, it's easy to sell an end buyer on like, look, buying this house for, $80,000 and it makes $1,000 a month. Like,
oh, even better. I mean, we'll sell deals that make $1,000 or that make $1,000 in rent, and we sell them for like $65,000.
Yeah. And that may be what it's worth, but like at the end of the day, they're not trying to flip it and make a profit versus, Cali, you need a significant discount. Like this $1 million house, you better go get it for at least 800 max to be able to make what you want to make, and chopping off 200K isn't an easy task. It's
very hard in California to convince a seller to take a discount on their home because they don't need to.
Right.
I mean, why would they? If anything, you almost, like when I was working in California, you feel predatory. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to say this offer, but you shouldn't accept it. Like, you should go here. Let me give you my realtor friend's number. Like that's how I felt when I was making offers, So.
Well, and one thing I'll say, because I've got a lot of buddies in California who kill it, and I see a couple of different things. Like, Brian Davila, he runs Future Flipper. He's my COO. He lives out in Cali, SoCal. He flips predominantly in like San Bernardino and like these Inland Empire.
Yeah.
They're very comparably priced to Vegas.
Yes.
If not cheaper. And so it's like kind of just the same thing. And so he does well out there just flipping locally and everything. And then I've got, friends out in San Diego and stuff who, I mean, my friend Phil Green, he's doing 300 flips a year or something crazy like that in San Diego. And I mean, he'll do anything. He's like, I'll buy the crappiest house on the block. I'll buy the mansion. I don't care. And, I don't know how. I know he spends a ton in marketing to get there.
Right.
He spends hundreds of thousands a month to get his inventory. But, I would just say, if you're going to flip in these high-end markets, like buy the property, you better be very, careful. Not careful, but like, you better know what you're doing.
Right.
Because they are more difficult flips than, say, my entry-level home in Vegas or San Bernardino or whatever. But, obviously you can hit some home runs too, like you said. But I'll say, even just for team morale, we when you get more deals, you feel better about yourself than you do like getting one fat deal.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many of these Cali flippers, not of the ones that you've mentioned, but I call them the exception, not the rule. So there's a lot of high level players in California that, if you're getting in, like you're going to have to go against these high level players that are investing like $100,000 in their marketing budget every month to get these deals. I call them the exception, not the rule. And if you want, you can choose that path and go for, I call it, elephant hunting. Sorry, no, I don't hunt. This is not, PETA, stay away from me. I do not hunt, I swear. I just call it elephant hunting, where, you close a deal, you make $100,000, like, you're on top of the world, but man, that 6 months before you got that deal is stressful, especially when you're paying that marketing budget. So for me, I didn't want that life.
Yeah.
I like sleeping at night. And like you said, the morale, like when you close one, like, maybe it was $12,000, but still $12,000 can change people's lives.
A lot of dough.
It's still great. It's a lot of money, and it's a lot of money for anyone.
Yeah.
And when that's coming in more consistently, for me, it helped me sleep at night. And so that's why for me, going virtual was the best option for me. I definitely get people that see, maybe something that I did online or, podcast or whatever, and they will say, oh, well, my friend so-and-so does it still in California. I'm like, that's great for him. Exception, not the rule. I can't tell you how many students I've had that tried California and couldn't make it work.
Right.
So there is a huge population where, they want to get started in a market that's just easier. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's the truth. These Midwest markets are 100%, 1,000 times easier than the West Coast markets. That I know for a fact. And I've seen many people who could not cut it in Vegas go to the Midwest and do very well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it just really depends on your skill set, what you want to do.
Lifestyle too. Like, are you someone who has, like, maybe you're a single mom and you have 2 kids, so like you have to pay your bills, like, or are you single and like you can kind of like live in a studio apartment and grind it out, couch hop for a little bit, like. It really depends also on the person's psychology and lifestyle as well. What you would choose.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So tell me this, with your business being virtual, how are you closing them? Marketing, you're doing the same things that probably other people do, but like, do you have people boots on the ground that go on appointments? Are you trying to close over the phone? What are you doing?
Oh, so I'm all over the phone.
Okay.
Yes. So I was over the phone even in California because California, the traffic is insane. All right. So like, it's so funny when you say that, to touch on that San Bernardino area, that is virtual because it takes 2 hours
I know,
in the freeway to get there. It's like, you might as well be in Oklahoma.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't even matter. So I learned how to close over the phone in California because after seller appointment, where the seller would waste my time, I would drive, 2 hours there, 2 hours back to not get the deal. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I still remember the last seller appointment I was on where I was like, I'm never doing this again. So I refused to get in my car until I had a signed contract. So I got really good over the phone.
Yeah.
And that just transferred. I said, well, I'm already doing it over the phone. I can just do this, anywhere over the phone. So we do it all over the phone. We get the contract signed. If there's any reason why we cannot get it signed via DocuSign, any kind of e-signature, we will send someone down to bring the contract to the seller, and the seller can sign, and then that person takes it and scans it back to us.
Yeah, but they're not like a salesperson. They're just... Like
they
a notary,
are
essentially.
Basically, I call them runners. So in all of our territories, I hire a runner. It's just someone I pay about $20 an hour. And I find them on Craigslist, or sometimes they're just like realtors that want some side, a little side hustle. And they handle our inspections, taking photos, buyer walkthroughs, and contracts, running contracts. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So the point I want to make here to everyone listening or watching, if you're on YouTube, and by the way, if you're on YouTube or listening, make sure you subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Here's a quick word from our sponsors. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. Are you looking to find off-market real estate deals? One of the best tools my team uses is Batch Leads. With Batch Leads, you're able to pull data, manage lists, and send text messages. On top of that, you can get nationwide access to the MLS to get pictures and comps. My team has used Batch Leads to get some of our best deals, so I know it works. If you want to start today, you can get half off your first month by going to batchleads.io and using the promo code Ryan. Once again, that's batchleads.io, promo code Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. There's a lot of different business models to succeed in real estate. And, you know, I've got students who virtually wholesale, some who virtually flip. Lauren's business model is completely different than mine. You know, I'm local here in Vegas. Yeah, we'll do some virtual stuff here or there randomly, but we're not trying to. And I'm a big believer in going on appointments. Like, yeah, we close over the phone, but at the end of the day, we always want to go on appointments just because, one, we have the manpower to do it, right? I've got, you know, our appointment guy who's really good, and I also have 150 realtors. So, like, if there's any inclination of possibly wanting to sell, we want to send somebody out there just to see, you know, because there's been a lot of long shots that I know for a fact if we were just only on the phone, we would have been like, nah, these guys aren't deals. And they turn into deals, and we're like, wow, okay, it's only because we went on an appointment. But that being said, it all just goes back down to your resources and your market. You know, like, I have the resources to send a lot of appointments. Also, Vegas is a big market, but a small market in the fact that it takes 30 to 40 minutes to get anywhere, max. You know, right here in my office, we're centrally located. Like, we can usually get anywhere in 15 minutes. So it's like, for us, there's no reason we shouldn't go on appointments with our resources, because it's going to, you know, get deals that we couldn't have gotten otherwise. And also, we're probably going to get a better deal by going on an appointment.
Absolutely. And I do have to deal with the idea that there is going to be some that we miss because we couldn't physically be out there. I'm okay with it. You know, it's one of those things where you just, as long as I have an appropriate amount of volume that is sustainable, you know, for my company, I'm okay with some of the ones that we're going to lose, you know, because we couldn't go on the appointment. But I also have the counter argument that in the time that you know, went to the appointment, I could have made, you know, 10 offers and still gotten a contract. So it's like, it's hard to know. Like, I'd have to have the resources to split test this and have half of my company for a month go on appointment, half, and I just forget about it. I'm all right.
That's what I'm saying. It's all just how you want to do it and resources.
Yes, for sure.
The way that we handle that is I have ISAs, inside sales agents, that strictly are only on the phones in the office. And so their whole job is to just intake the leads, either set an appointment, make an offer, or get on to the next, you know, leads. So, like, theoretically, we shouldn't lose efficiency by having guys go on appointments, because the appointments guy is literally just, he's like your runner.
Right.
He only goes on appointments, and he's just running around town anyway. And, you know, the more appointments and opportunities he gets, he's happy. He's like, hey, I wasn't going to do anything anyway. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I love the virtual model. I've seen a lot of people start who maybe didn't have success locally for various reasons. And if you are going to go virtual, like Lauren said, I would really target these cheaper places, the Midwest. They're just easier.
They are.
The sellers are easier. The buyers have more exit strategies, and, you know, it can be less intimidating, like you said, just price-wise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the sellers that you're talking to, they are people that are truly motivated and truly do need help. Where when you are in a higher priced market, you know, it is less frequent that you get that truly motivated seller. I would say the percentage of our day talking to truly motivated sellers are probably higher, you know, than somewhere here.
For sure.
For sure.
So I want to transition a bit and talk about family life and how you deal with it as a single mom. Because, man, let me tell you, I've got a wife, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and we got, a 2.5-year-old, a 1-year-old, and, dude, like, she's literally busy all day, like, taking care of these kids, and I even get home, and I'm like, holy crap, I don't know how she does it, and it's given me, like, a new appreciation for single moms, because I'm like, how could they possibly take care of kids and work? It, like, blows my mind to even think about it, because I don't know if my wife, if things ever happened and I had to take care of the kids and work, I'd be toast.
Right.
So I want to know how you're doing it.
Well, this is my favorite topic. I think it's an evolution. When I first got started in the business, I was working around my kids. When Presley was born, Reese was like 2.5. I was home with them, and I was making offers while they were napping and sleeping is when I would talk to sellers. And that was very stressful. That was very, very hard. What I thought I was going to be able to do ended up in practice not working out. Working around children, it's like brushing your teeth with Oreos in your mouth. Like it's very difficult, almost impossible, and very inefficient. So I put them in daycare couple days a week. And then I just made the best use of those couple days. And then as I got older, they went to preschool and then, elementary school, so my time blocks of, solo time, got bigger and bigger. And that's when my company grew. It really did grow as my kids got out of the house a little bit more. So I would say utilizing childcare and, school and making the best use of your time is very, it's crucial.
Yeah. People have been telling us that it gets easier, but I still don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah,
it does. Toddlers are insane. They're savages. So yeah.
We took them to Mexico with us last week, and it was a whole week-long trip, and I brought my in-laws because I'm like, all right, at least they can watch the kids and we can get some time away.
Yeah.
But man, it don't work out that way.
No, they'll find you. The kids will find you.
The kids will find you. The in-laws aren't as helpful as you think they're going to be.
For sure.
And,
yeah,
I had a bunch of people like, you just got to get a nanny, dude.
Yeah. No, really. I mean, nannies are except like you have kids like mine, no nanny would stay for longer than 3 months. My nannies would run away. They'd quit on us because my kids were monsters.
Wow.
So it was tough. The only thing that seemed to work best was the daycare, an actual preschool, because my kids wouldn't act up there. Because they knew oh, these people are professionals.
Yeah.
But man, my kids would see a nanny walking in and they would just be like,
we're about to wreck you.
We are going to wreck you. You do not know what's coming.
Yeah.
I am going to get my mom back home. It was their mission. I'm going to get my mom back home. We are going to terrorize you until you leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how is it now? I mean, they're older. What, they're 8 and 10, you said?
8 and 10. Yeah. It is, night and day. Now, granted, we're coming out of a global pandemic, which was
how was that?
Insane. Okay, so that was insanity. So, I had just gotten used to them going to school every day. So I was working, I'd drop them off, I'd work during the day. And I actually attribute a lot of my virtual life to because of this. I always had to be virtual because I'm a mom with kids, right?
Right.
So I would work all day, pick them up, do homework, put them to bed. It was pretty good work-life balance. I had it all figured out. And then the pandemic hit. Oh, wow. I mean, that was a crazy time. It was so stressful because not only, did we get a week's notice that they're not going back to school. I was launching my coaching program at the time that week, the same week. My kids are downstairs. I had to basically set up a desk in my master bedroom, the quietest part of the house. And my kids would just be downstairs on it was terrible, but their iPads for 15 hours a day. It was awful. Yeah. I'd come downstairs. They'd be like, we're cooking. They would cook. My house was a disaster. And it was week after week. You're is this reality? Are they going to go back ever?
Yeah. What's going to happen?
What is going to, I feel like the first like month of it was like, okay, they're going to go back. Like this is just going to be another week. And so I was kind of letting it go, like letting them watch TV all day and letting them destroy the house while I worked upstairs, But after a while, I was like, okay, this is actually like, this is not going away. Like this could be the next year.
Right.
And then when we had the school, like we had the distance learning.
Yeah.
Oh my, like blow my head off. Like that was the worst time of my life. I mean, I'm not a teacher. I wasn't even good at doing my own homework in school, let alone my kids' homework, you know, super stressful time. Eventually I'd heard that the private schools were open. And I just got on the phone one day. I hit a breaking point, and I got on the phone and called every private school in my area.
You're going to take my kids.
Yes, I literally enrolled them like a week later, and then it's been great ever since. Like, honestly, my private school's been open very consistently. We only had a quarantine like a couple times because we had COVID exposures within the household, but otherwise it's been much better. Yeah. But a crazy time.
Yeah, I've heard from all these parents and just like, man, I have the toddlers, right? So they don't go. Well, actually, my son's been going to preschool now. But, I couldn't imagine going to, like, normal school and just that like, not the home learning stuff. I was like, man, this is nuts. And then it's funny because I went to public school. I turned out pretty good. My wife went to public school. She was a 8th grade public school teacher until she became a stay-at-home mom. And in my mind, for some reason, I was just like, yeah, they'll always go to like public school, like whatever. And like at this point, I don't think it's feasible just because of, where we're at in life now. But I thought about all these people homeschooling now. And I've always been against homeschool because I'm like, man, they're not going to develop social skills. Definitely, my wife and I do not want to like have to teach them ourselves, right? Yeah. Like,
no thanks.
So like for many reasons, I'm like, we'll never do homeschool. And then, a lot of people have been forced to do it, right?
Yeah.
Just because whatever, the school system's making them wear masks. They're making some people get vaccinated or whatever. Like there's just all these different things that are now changing the equation of why people would do certain things. And so I don't know. It's just like a very weird time. And I really don't know where it's going to go going forward. I think it's still up in the air. So, crazy times.
It is a crazy time.
Yeah. How do you feel about moving? Because you're in California, which is extremely expensive.
Yes.
And you're virtually wholesaling, so there's no reason work-wise for you to be there.
Right. Yeah.
So like, what keeps you there?
Family. I mean, family, and I am divorced, so we co-parent. So I have to stay with their, where their dad's located, and we've made that agreement. So until my kids are 18, I'm definitely stuck in California. But is California my end-all, be-all? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, my dad was from Ohio. I have family in the Carolinas. I've spent so much time in different states. So moving is definitely a possibility. There's so many markets I love in the United States that I would say, oh, I totally moved there.
Yeah.
But California's, it is cool. Like every once in a while, I'm reminded of like why I live there. Like yesterday I was riding my bike to the beach. We live really close to the beach. And I was riding our bike to the neighborhood park, which is on the sand.
Yeah.
And I look around and I was like, where else? Like, would you have like a park on the sand? Like this is cool. So, it is great. But California, the quality of life, it's tough. It's hard to make it. You have to make a lot of money to be able to live there. So, yeah. So tell me about, at some point you may or may not move, but how did you pick those virtual markets? Like, did you go and visit them and you're like, this place is pretty nice. I'd live here. Like, how did that go? So the way I picked a virtual market when I first got started versus now is like completely different. When I first got started, my first virtual market was Nashville, Tennessee. And the reason I chose Nashville is because I thought this would be a cool place to visit. That's all. Like that was literally my only thought process in it was, this place seems cool to visit. So I started building homes in Nashville. What ended up happening in Nashville is I learned a lot about picking markets because what happened was I got into Nashville right when it was like the #1 real estate market in the country. It was going through a huge development boom. So I went from essentially one California to another type of California because it was highly competitive. Everybody was building houses in Nashville. Like, I wasn't the only person.
Yeah.
So I had realized, I learned a thing or two there. I stayed in Nashville for a few years, but then I realized I needed to find a market that's a little bit more balanced and, maybe like where the house prices aren't increasing at a rapid rate, or there's not some sort of like crazy development boom or something in the news that's making this like
Everyone's coming here. It's becoming too competitive.
Right. So I started thinking about it. Now, I mean, my criteria has evolved since then, but I realized I really like markets where there's more exit strategies. So landlord markets where you can buy a property and still, you can use leveraged capital and still make a 1% or the 1% rent to price ratio type of markets where you can still make, you can still cash flow, but still get a loan on the property. So the Midwest markets fit the bill price point. I definitely love landlord markets. I like following the hedge funds. I like markets where the average house price is under $200,000. There is a big difference between, and that's at the time of filming this right now. This could change next year. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But just from what I've seen, above 200,000, there's a difference in the seller you're talking to.
Yeah.
It's a big difference in that seller avatar. So I like going for the sub 200. It's a different type of seller. There's usually more distress in that price point. I also don't want to go too cheap. So I try to find.
You don't want the $10,000 houses?
Sure don't. Yeah, sure don't. Yeah, they, the houses where say the as is value is 50,000. If you're wholesaling houses, there's not a lot of end buyers that are buying that stuff other than the cash flow cowboys.
And you can't even wholesale it for much.
You really
what are you
can't.
Gonna make?
Like when you have a house that's maybe as is value is 50,000 and you're getting it for 25, like you just have less buyers that want that.
Yeah, because they need a deal.
Yeah, they just less buyers are into that price point. They're just the hedge funds usually won't touch it.
Yep.
So I don't want to go too cheap, but I don't want to go too expensive. So I really like an average house price of 130 to 200,000.
And you want your
metro.
130 to rent for 1,300.
Something like that, right? Or better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that led you to Oklahoma City, which I know a lot of people are in that market.
Yeah.
Great rental market.
It's a great market.
And then Louisville. And then what was the other one?
Pittsburgh. We do deals in Pittsburgh. We do deals in Tulsa.
Yeah, I've heard Tulsa. So Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma's an interesting one because I'm not very good with geography, guys. So Oklahoma's in the south, right? It's not like...
I don't think you would... No, it's Midwest.
Yeah, see? There you go, guys. In my mind, I'm thinking Oklahoma's... Is it next to Ohio?
No.
See? I don't know.
It's close to Texas.
Yeah, see? That's the south.
I'm not even good. I'm not even good with but it's above. So
Yeah.
I think you would consider it... I think it's considered Midwest.
Okay. So I
don't even know.
Yeah, I thought it was...
I should know this.
Well, okay, so here's in my mind. When I think about the Midwest, I'm like thinking Ohio, Michigan, like those northern Midwest places that are super cold. The weather sucks. You can get stuff for, $10,000, all that. And then the South, though, I like a lot. Texas, I love. Georgia, Florida, Tennessee,
yeah.
And in my mind, I thought Oklahoma was kind of
I think it's
like in
right
between.
above.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a line.
But I also think that's why Oklahoma's good is because it's still partially, it's not like true Midwest where it's near all these cheap homes.
Yeah, no, it's a great market, but there's plenty of markets. I mean, I think what we've seen is Oklahoma's, there's a lot of saturation of wholesalers. So what was once an amazing market, to wholesale in has definitely gotten oversaturated. So that's why I diversified myself into 4 different markets.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the map.
Is Oklahoma considered, is it considered Midwest or South?
To me, I would call it South, personally.
Isn't there a line?
Well, there's a line. I mean,
what is the line?
The line is with New Mexico. It's with Arizona. It's all the same top line.
We should just Google it. Is
I know.
Oklahoma Midwest or South?
Well,
This
yeah,
is gonna bug
I
me.
don't need Google to tell me. I need the comments. You guys are in the comments.
Post it in the comments.
Is
Let's
Oklahoma
go.
considered the Midwest,
Midwest
or
or
the South?
South?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that Louisiana is right there too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Louisiana is the South.
Yeah, for sure. Arkansas. Would you
Yeah.
consider Arkansas the South?
Yeah, because that's right next to.
Would you consider
I don't know if
Tennessee
I
the
would.
South?
Tennessee is considered the South. You
Tennessee
might be right.
is higher up.
I've never heard though anybody in Oklahoma call themselves Southerners.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And when I worked like Tennessee, it was definitely like we're in the South.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah.
Well,
Do you see how little you have to know about the market you wholesale in? By the way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so it's funny when I was playing baseball. So I played pro baseball for 8 years, and many of the teams I was on were in the Midwest. One was in Iowa. One was in I can't even remember. I spent so much time in the Midwest that I was like, how do people live here? This place sucks. So it's just so cold and so flat. There's like nothing going on. I'm like, man. But I see why they live there because it's so cheap. Like you could live like a
quality
king.
of life.
Yeah, well, super nice people. You know, you could live like a king for friggin' at that time. This was, man, it's been 10 years since I was playing.
Yeah.
Initially, 2011 was when 2011 I was in Iowa. So 10 years ago, I remember looking it up when I was there. I'm like, how much is this house worth? It was like $40,000 or something. I was like, $40,000? Like, this is a nice house. This is crazy. And I don't think it's probably worth that much more. Maybe it's worth $120,000 today, you know? And it's for sure like so cheap to live there and like great people. So I see the appeal on that front, but man, the weather and just things to do, I'd be trying to get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but when people like they live there, they grew up there, they have their network, their family, and they're more connected, I think, with their friends. Also sports.
Yeah.
You know,
they love their sports.
They love their sports, you know. So there are definitely things to do. I mean, in Oklahoma, it's not so bad. I visited a few times. I actually really enjoyed Tulsa.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Well, Oklahoma's in the South, so it's a little different.
Yeah, that's true. We got to figure that out. Did anyone comment in the comments? Is Oklahoma in the South?
So as far as the South and the Midwest goes, you know, I've started my fund, Pineda Capital. By the way, if any of you guys want to invest with me on apartments and big deals, you can go to pinedacapital.com. You know, we're buying, well, by the time this airs, we'll have bought it. 334-unit apartment building in Georgia. And we are definitely looking at buildings in the Midwest and in the South because that's where the cash flow is. I mean, there's just not apartments I could buy here in Vegas and get the type of returns I'm going to get in those areas. But you mentioned to me too, like you're thinking about syndication and other stuff like that as well. So is that kind of the future for you? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I started in commercial real estate. So I got the commercial real estate bug early on, and I thought it was dipping into residential. I didn't think I'd actually be in it so long. I mean, it's almost been 10 years. But I mean, I did a lot in the commercial space, and I know a lot about the different asset classes. I worked like office, I worked retail, industrial. I mean, I did it all.
Were you like a leasing agent? What were you doing?
I did work. I was a leasing broker.
Okay.
So that was my first job out of college. Then I worked for Subway restaurants on the tenant side in franchise development. So I learned a lot about retail. And negotiated a lot of retail leases. And then I worked for Irvine Company in construction project management for office tenant improvements. So it was like all commercial. And I got like a different experience, you know,
and your brother's like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, he's like, just you flip 2 houses, you're fine.
Yeah.
You flip 2 houses and then, you know, whatever. And so I do want to get back into it. I see myself, you know, syndicating, raising money, maybe starting in the multifamily space. You know, but then maybe trying something different. I don't know. I've got some ideas.
What are the ideas? Let's hear it.
Well, okay. I'm super into these roadside motels that they turn into like super awesome hotels.
Okay.
There's a few in Palm Springs. That's kind of the.
I'll have to look that up. Like,
yeah.
what do you know what one's called?
Look up like Holiday House.
I'll look it up.
Holiday House, yeah. or a Colony Palms. So these like hotels that are, that need a facelift, and they kind of look like motels. And they do an amazing remodel. Like the remodels are very themed. Okay. When you're there, it's an experience. Like when you're at Holiday House, it's like an experience. And my idea, I was just staying at another one in Phoenix called Rise Uptown. Similar thing. It looked like an older hotel that they remodeled, and they made it a pool club. So you can go for the day and hang out at the pool. You could have weddings, at these types of places.
Yeah.
There's usually a nice restaurant where people will go just to hang out at the restaurant or the bar. And then it's a hotel. So it's got many different revenue streams.
It's not much different than the casinos here in Vegas. I mean,
yeah,
it's not a Holiday Inn where you just go there to,
it's an experience. And what I loved about these, so I love staying in hotels. That's my thing. So it's an experience at these places. So that's my real
Your
dream.
passion.
My passion is I'd love to take one of these things, like a hotel down, and just like remodel it and make it like a venue, a pool club, like a whole experience. But it needs to be in the right city. So like cities like maybe Austin.
There's got to be stuff going on.
So like the one in Phoenix I was just at does really well. Palm Springs.
Yep.
Great place for it. I was thinking like a Nashville, Phoenix, Austin.
But are you looking for like
areas.
smaller hotels to do this at?
Yeah, they are smaller.
Like how many units you think?
I don't know. I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't have like a unit count, but they are usually smaller hotels, boutique. They're considered boutique hotels. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an extreme value add because, most people would be looking at it like, okay, it's a motel, freaking
one revenue stream.
Yeah, whatever
That's
it makes. And, we'll freshen it up and start try and do better at operations and marketing the motel. Like that's how you typically look at it. But you're like, how do we make this a luxury?
Yeah.
Not a motel anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's in multiple revenue streams out of it, because you can have weddings. You can, if the decor design is, just right, like you're going to want to invite influencers and get that place all over Instagram. And next thing everybody wants their wedding there, so I don't know. That's the dream. But I think I might start in like some kind of housing first, like maybe multifamily or mobile home parks. In my syndication journey, that's kind of like the baby step to then doing something a little bit more creative and passionate.
How are you going to do it with all the other things you got going on?
It's a great question. We were just talking about that. I just hired, I'm so slow to this, but I just hired, I call her director of business development, but mainly you might call it operations manager, I think is what you, in your
COO, operations,
Yeah, so I finally hired that person. It took a lot of people telling me, like, you need someone to replace you. Like, you need to stop running your companies. You need someone else to be running your company. So I have a coaching, as far as reference to my companies, I've got a coaching program. And I've got the, investment company. So I did just recently, about 4 months ago, hire that operations manager, and I'm slowly like relieving myself of tasks. So most of my day now is filming or being in meetings. And I'm trying to figure out how to get out of the meetings. So
yeah, the meetings are the worst.
The meetings, they're adding up. But I think with just hiring the right people, after hiring Debbie, I had realized, like, how did I ever not have Debbie? I can't even believe like I didn't have her before, because she's busy. Like she's from the day she came on, she was so busy. She's like, I can't believe you didn't have me. I'm like, I know, it's crazy.
So wait, I didn't even talk to you about your team. Like, so you just hired Debbie. Like, are you talking to sellers? Like, how's your business set up?
No, so I have not talked to a seller in many years.
Okay.
But I used to do it all myself. So like, I've got the script, it's in there.
So you got
now I train, people how to talk to sellers, my staff and my students and whatnot. But no, so my team was pretty small up until probably 6 months ago. The only reason I've hired a meteor team is because now my business has really evolved into, I feel like my wholesale company is like a test kitchen for my coaching program. Yeah. So I'm testing out different marketing campaigns, and to handle the amount of volume of seller calls that we're getting, it's forced me to grow a bigger team. I didn't necessarily want to do that because I don't know if I never really wanted a multi-million-dollar wholesaling company.
Right.
I always wanted to go into syndication. So it wasn't like my goal to have, I always kept my wholesaling company at a very manageable level. There was a reason for it. But because of, my coaching program and using this company as a test kitchen, I've had to hire more people. So now this is kind of what it looks like. I've got one person that does a lot of lead gen, and he's virtual. He's Mexico based. I have 2 acquisition managers, which I don't know, maybe you would call them inside sales reps, something like that. They're the people that do all the acquisitions. They put the property under contract.
Yep.
I have someone over them that underwrites all the deals and the offers, and he's the one to make sure, he's basically like the signer on the contracts.
Yeah.
He's underwriting, but he's also managing dispositions. He's kind of a hybrid between both because he knows whether we can sell that deal. So he's very important. He's been with me for like 6 years. And then I have a disposition salesperson who's she's selling our deals. She's the one on the phone, pushing when we have a house under contract. She's calling all the hedge funds, all the local that we know that are buying in that area to really get the most eyes on the deal. And we have a part-time transaction coordinator. And we have 2 virtual assistants from the Philippines who are amazing. Been with me for several years. One manages all the acquisition side stuff and the lead generation activities, like managing the lists and uploading lists. And she's even kind of watching our acquisitions and making sure they stick to the script. She listens in on their calls. She audits them, making sure sellers are getting called back. The other one does all our disposition marketing. So they're our sisters. So anyway, my team is a lot bigger. Before that, even up to a year ago, it was 3 people in the VAs. It wasn't as many people as it is now. Yeah. I just grew kind of, and I had to. It was out of necessity. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That you've had those people, but not the operations manager managing them all. So you're the one managing all these people.
Well, I started growing and hiring, and then I realized, from
it's a lot of management.
No, it was oh my God, this is out of control, and we're gonna end up spending more money than we're making, which is we didn't want to do that. So I got Debbie in, and honestly, it was from having conversations with people like you. I talked to it was 3 people. I remember I talked to 3 people who gave me that same advice. Boom, boom, boom. It was Chris Craddock, he's a coach with Wholesaling Inc., and Tarek El Moussa, the HGTV guy, and his partner, Pete DeBest. And then I was okay, I hear the message is that what high-level successful people do is they hire people to be them.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there yet. I think I was, I'm still JV, I feel in my entrepreneurial journey. So I just didn't realize how crucial that was. And it was more people, more fires.
Yeah.
And so getting Debbie in about 4 months ago has been a lifesaver. And since Debbie, we hired more people after Debbie.
Right.
So it's, now I feel I'm in a much better space, and I definitely think we could double our numbers by next year.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do 100 next year.
I think so. We weren't staffed for 100. I was staffed for 50, and I didn't want to be 100 because, again, my eyes were on.
That wasn't your deal.
It wasn't my deal. I wanted to get into other things, I was this is cool.
Well, the thing is, and this is what I've learned from business, is the more efficient you become and the more organized and the better people you get. And, once you get things rolling and truly remove yourself, it's weird. Things actually get better if you do it right. We're on pace to make more than we've ever made this year. And I don't do much. And so it really just comes down to, all these years of refining and, grooming the right people. And, Debbie's new. Debbie's going to be a lot better a year from now. And she's going to be much, more wise and have more experience. And that should turn into more revenue, more efficiencies. And for me, it's allowed me to jump into other industries and businesses as well, like the syndication.
Yeah.
And so that was why I was going to ask you, kind of what's the plan? Because I think it sounds like anyways, with Debbie and all these other hires, that you should be able to kind of devote your time into less watching them and more to new endeavors that are more fun.
Yeah. Yes, that's the goal.
Yeah. Wholesaling's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love making a quick buck, but I can only do so many deals before I'm like getting bored of,
Yeah.
like, what are we going to do?
Well, like anything, you grow, and then you're like, oh, that looks like would be fun. Like,
Yeah.
you stay at some hotels, and you're like, I want to own one of these hotels.
Yeah.
How does someone do that?
Yeah.
And you find passion, because I think when you first, like, I remember when I first got into flipping and wholesaling, like, I had this passion. It was so exciting and new, because like, wow, I own my own business. Like, I learned how to pay myself. Like, no one is paying me anymore. That's so cool.
Yep.
But then, like anything, after 9 years, you go, okay, like, I want to do something else, like, because I'm a creative person.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you do as far as the syndication goes, because if you do want to start these hotels, if you guys get one of these, hotels in a good market, Pineda Capital might buy it, and then Lauren's gonna help set it up.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the passion for that hotel, but
Yeah.
I would love to see it.
Yeah. You'd like to stay and hang out at one, right?
I want to own it for
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
just don't want to creatively
Just to be like, say I own it.
yeah, hey, I own this. Me and Lauren own it. It's super
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
It's the hottest hotel in Vegas. But we probably wouldn't want to do it here. There's like a
This
lot
would
of
not
competition.
be, yeah, there's too much competition here. It needs to be like in Austin,
Yeah.
Phoenix is a great place, Scottsdale, like,
Yeah.
a major metro with a good downtown or a good scene.
Anywhere
Younger
but Vegas.
population.
Yeah, you want like those hipsters. You want
the hipsters.
Palm Springs.
Yes.
Perfect for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So, well, cool. It's been a lot of fun having you. Tell me where can everyone find you at?
The best place would be my main website. Go to www.laurenhardyco.com. And that will lead you to everything. It'll lead you to my Instagram and
Everything
coaching
else.
program and free wholesaling mini course, all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we'll link to all that down below.
Thanks.
Just once again, super inspiring story. Hopefully everyone listening can take some different nuggets on how to do it, and also too just realize they don't have excuses, right? You're living proof of starting when things were in other people's minds not good.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it as a single mom, scaling the company from just you to building a team to doing other things, and so I think it's going to be inspirational for a lot of people.
Thank
Cool.
you.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you for watching, listening. However you did, make sure you subscribe, leave a 5-star review. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.